Hey everyone, welcome to the Growth Marketing Weekly catch-up call. We're going to start with metrics. So to start first, back up just a second. I'm Shane Rice. If you don't know me, you should know me by this point. But if you don't, that's who I am. We'll dive right into some metrics for the website, marketing website, and then we'll talk a little bit about MQLs and some other data. So I'm going to share my screen now. And so what you see here is our agenda. So you can see that for the quarter so far, we're 43.9% of the way through the quarter. These are stats of it as of yesterday. So looking at increasing website traffic 20% year over year, we're on track with users year over year to date. So we're at a little over 7 million. This is overall users. That number's up about 19, a little over 19%. New users, which is where I get really excited because that's people that haven't visited our site, that don't have a cookie, show up and we can then see them. We're at 6.5 million. That's almost up 24%. And that's, you can click to see the source there. Page views are up as well, on track for our 20% year over year target. I do want to point out some things about, like, take just a second to talk about metrics, specifically Google Analytics, and why I prefer users over page views to track the metrics here. If you look here, you can see, pretty normal looking, graph year over year. Nothing too out of the ordinary. It's good growth. Lots of good things happening there. When we look at page views, you see here that there is my Zoom window's right there in front of the spike. There's a spike last week. There's a short-lived issue on the website where we were redirecting or refreshing, so it was multiplying page views, and so page views for that day spiked until we got that issue pulled back down. This doesn't happen on the user chart because we're only counting that visitor one time as a user. We're not counting multiple times for those page views. So a small thing, but just one of the reasons why I like looking at users when we talk about growth on the marketing website. Moving on to MQL commitments for quarter two of our fiscal year 21. So we're on track. Still a little lower than the quarter to date target for large. Medium, we're on track. SMB on track as well. The reason why, again, we're not super concerned about the little bit of variance in large numbers is that we are on track with our pipeline numbers. Danielle, thank you for adding the change week over week. I know we talked about that and I didn't get a chance to add it in yet. So just over 500,000 increase in pipeline just this week. We'll keep an eye on that just to see what that looks like week over week, to see where we end up, what's a good range for us to be in, where we should be concerned. So you can click through to any of the source links there to look in Google Analytics, Sisense for MQL and pipeline data. If you don't have access to those tools, let me know. We can get you set up with an access request to have you in those tools. And with that, I'm going to pass it over to Shane B to talk about brand and digital capacity.
Shane, you're still on mute.
Thanks for that, Shane. So brand and digital capacity, we're providing these capacity metrics to give the team at this point just a pulse on our overall individual contributor capacity for brand and digital, as well as what we're dedicating to management. You can see it's roughly the same as it was last week. That's because last week was a 4-day week, and this week is for many of us, or next week is for many of us. As Michael onboards as our new senior manager of digital experience, and once Lauren returns, our senior dev, we'll start to see some digital contribution capacity ramp up. And so with that, I'd like to kick off show and tell, and just remind everyone that this is an opportunity for anyone who would like to contribute to share something that they completed this week on the call. With that, I will pass it to Suri and Brandon.
Hello, everyone. I'd like to take some time today to share how various members of the growth marketing team collaborate to create content assets. So first, we'll take a look at the new version control topic page. So in the linked Google Doc, you can see the layout of the page in the various sections of the copy. So the first step in creating a topic page is to work with Niall to understand the keywords we want to target and to do the analytics to understand how we currently rank for content, and then Niall also looks at our competitors and what they're doing. So once I have all of that info, I start to do my own research and create an outline. I write it all up, have it reviewed by Jordy, my stable counterpart in product marketing. I also have Bree from content review it, and then I send it to Brandon for web development. And now Brandon will share what he did.
Yes. So this is a kind of templatized page that we've done a few times before for the layout, and it's you know, super easy to develop based on the copy that's given. You know, it's always very nice to get something that's fully fleshed out, and yeah, so it's goes over, you know, kind of use case, or sorry, topic of version control, and you know, what is it, why is it, benefits, which is the best, and then it links to a lot of resources on this topic. So personally, I've actually gone back into some of these resources that are linked in other topics, and you know, learned how to use GitLab better via you know, issue management in the Agile topic or stuff like that. So these are pages which summarize a lot of our existing content and are a good way to find content. And you can find it under the, you know, the resources topics menu, and version control is the latest one. And yeah, it's always good to collaborate on these. Surrey gives plenty of lead time, and you know, all the resources are there. Since these are existing blog posts, I can go grab the image from the blog post and not have to worry about sourcing another image. So it all kind of falls together pretty quickly. Yeah, I think that's all I have for that. Who is next? Where am I?
That's me. Thanks so much, Brayden,
Sure.
for walking through that. So now Vic, Matt, and I would like to share how we collaborated to create a new ebook on version control best practices. So for those of you who don't know, in every integrated campaign, there's a lead asset that appears on the campaign landing page. And since version control and collaboration is a new use case and it has very little content, I wrote this ebook in a couple days to ensure that we stayed on track for our June 15th launch. I researched, outlined, and wrote the copy. You can see the link in the agenda. Jordy from PMM and Bree from Content reviewed the ebook before I passed off to the design team. And you can see in the doc that there are some areas that are highlighted as callouts. And this is a new thing that was done because Matt suggested that we can spotlight some copy in unique ways using design. So the next step in the collaboration workflow was for Vic to create beautiful illustrations to make everything look magical. So now Vic will talk about her illustration work. You're muted, Vic.
There we go. Sorry about that. It's really late on Friday night here. Forgive me. So yeah, working with Matt and Suri was awesome on this. It was really straightforward. Matt created this awesome document for me, which basically outlined everywhere that needed some help with illustration to bring the pages to life a little bit. So this is kind of what I worked from to start with. And I thought it'd be cool to show you like my really messy board, filled with a bunch of different concepts and ideas. Some of them I stole from Luke, but don't tell him. Some collaboration, some reuse of older illustrations to, you know, keep it nice and efficient and effective. And then I sort of dropped them into Matt's initial exploration, his first document that he sent over, and sort of, you know, tried to figure out how best to lay this stuff out. And then, yeah, I dropped that stuff back into the issue, and Matt gave me some great feedback on that stuff. I think it's, yeah, it's in here. So we just dropped that back into the issue and back and forth with some feedback, some ideas from Matt. And then, yeah, some nice words from Suri, and it made everything nice. And then Matt took the design and ran with it, and I'll pass over to Matt now.
Thank you very much. Sharing screen. So yeah, started off, as Suri said, going over content. I wanted to base this off some elements of existing documents, but I think I got off lucky because it's a kind of a condensed document, so you could have a little more fun with content. It's not a remote playbook, which is quite expansive and a lot of stats and stuff. So it was kind of like a make the words real nice and then put big pictures in them and squish it all together so it's something that people will hopefully feel is kind of breezy to go through. So starting off with Luke's campaign art for the cover, highlighting some points within the ebook, which is a recommendation from Luke and Shane Bouchard, which is great. So yeah, utilizing lots of bright color, going through Vic's illustrations. Inside each one of these is a title. The dark purple is the callouts that Siri identified, impact on collaboration. All of them are on a white background. So as you scroll through, it's kind of like, oh, this was on a white part, this was on a light purple part, this was on a dark purple part. So allowing folks to skim through relatively quickly. Then at the end, I wanted to include some actual shots of what the product looked like. At the end of the day, this is a GitLab document and it supports what we do here. So I wanted to be able to do that. That was a tough part because I'm still relatively new, so I didn't know where to find any of this stuff in the tool yet. That's a learning curve that is turning to be a circle. So I had some help from the UX team and various other folks. So yeah, at the end of the day, I think Suri and Vic and I, in a relatively short amount of time, put forth a digestible, fun, punchy little document that hopefully is going to get some downloads. And from there, over to Chrissy.
Hi, everyone. So I am a content marketer, and I'm currently working on the GitOps use case campaign. And one of the things that our team does, in addition to writing ebooks or writing blogs, is we also work on email copy. So when we're doing campaigns, we need to find a way to disseminate this information that we're sharing. So I will share my screen. So the way that we do this is through a nurture plan. So when we are doing campaign planning, we come up with a content journey map where we identify content that is in different buyer journeys. And then we put that together into a nurture email campaign where we space out this content, either once every week or once every 2 weeks. So this is that issue. And then I wrote the nurture copy for this. So this is the layout. So what we try to do is focus on headlines, making sure that we're capturing attention and enticing people to read more. So when we're creating this content, we need to find a way to use this content for leads. And emails are a great way to do that. So the content that we have in mind is the GitOps panel discussion, which is going to be a really great discussion in July. And just identifying different topics according to the buyer journey. And then at the end, we usually end with a free trial. And we try to customize this email around the subject that they've been reading about so that it's not just general, it's based on this topic and why they should get a free trial for GitOps. So we write a lot of different copy, and emails is one of those. And it's honestly one of my favorite types of copy to write. And from here, let's go to Niall.
Hi, everyone. So I'm just going to give you a quick overview of something I've been working on with members of the content team. So it's basically an SEO content manual to assist in just ensuring that some of the best practices in regard to on-page optimization are included within the production stage. So I'll just share the screen. I lost it. Here we go. Doesn't seem to be opening. If I have the right screen open there, can you see it? Hello?
Yeah, we see it.
Yep, it's there.
Okay, so the idea was just to kind of centralize a lot of the information that was required for doing on-page optimization prior to production and post, and also include some descriptions of the terminology that might be used, so the anyone who's included in the production process can use it as a source of information. So just to go through some of the elements we included within it. Was just a synopsis as to like what elements are influenced by the inclusion of SEO best practices and why it incorporates so well with the content production. One of the most important things was a breakdown of a checklist to go through post-production, just for whereabouts the SEO optimization and keyword placements should be placed within a page. And also then just 4 kind of core elements to look for, which is like to ensure that your content is findable, readable, understandable, and actionable. And each one of them just has a certain amount of bullet points you can review and check. Alongside that then is just a quick synopsis of certain terminology that will be used from a strategy point of view when you're doing your content planning, such as like keyword grouping or the use of semantic terms, which is a process we're starting to incorporate now because it improves visibility and kind of more aligns with the Google ranking algorithms, which can be highly beneficial. Also, we cover things like searcher intent, gap analysis processes, which is used for the content production process, both internal and external. So it allows us to analyze what we have already produced for a topic that the content writer might be about to produce, so we don't kind of recreate something we've already looked at. And also this allows us to target our competitors and pull whatever top URLs they have that might be ranking in the top of search for that terminology, and they can do a gap analysis of on-page content to try and fill in their own creation process. Also, one of the things we wanted to look at then beyond that was the kind of on-page factors, technicalities. So we go into that and the kind of best practices. And finally then was the different kind of strategies we can look at for post-production. So we kind of broke it down into the 4 main categories for group optimizations, which is like low converting articles, high bounce rate articles, high visibility but low click-through, and page 1 ranking opportunities. So there are things that we can look at for doing bulk project fixes, and then just a quick overview of each one of those itself, and a look at then what optimization strategy will require for just doing individual page optimizations, which is something we're starting to look at now as well. This is obviously just a work in process, so as we get feedback from the teams and there's more areas they might want to delve into, we can add content and review as we move forward.
I just wanted to jump in and say that Suri and I were asking Niall like a million questions and asked if he could create this document, and he went above and beyond to make this best practices worksheet. So thank you. And thank you for staying late, because it's like 8 o'clock or later. Yeah.
And that seems like a perfect segue into our shout out section of the call. I'm going to go ahead and vocalize Valerie's shout out because she's not on the call. Very timely. She says, huge thanks to Niall for helping craft an SEO strategy for the blog. We have exciting things planned, and I second that. That best practices sheet that we just saw is awesome. And I'll pass it on to Danielle with the next one.
Yeah, I just wanted to shout out to Becky, and I'm sure there are many people involved in updating our issue templates so that folks can figure out how to work with us if they're not in the growth marketing team. So if you click through on the link to the handbook there, you can see more of the detail here. I'm guessing there are other things like this. They're not all necessarily organized here. Like I can imagine maybe some things for the content team, but I think they have their own detailed handbooks, so we can figure out how to link off to those. But this should make it easier if someone says, oh, I've got a really cool asset I created in the strategic marketing team. I really want to see it on the front page of GitLab.com. You can send them this issue template, and then they can make that request, and it helps us evaluate, does that fit with our goals? And Becky's saying in the chat, there's more coming soon. So really grateful for these. It just makes it great when we can be awesome partners with other teams and they know how to work with us. So thanks for that, Becky, and I will hand it off to is Suri, Vic, Brandon, and Matt wanting to give a shout out?
Oh, actually, that's me wanting to give a shout out to them.
There you go.
So yeah, I just wanted to give a shout out to those folks for those awesome end-to-end cross-functional projects and presentations. It's so cool to see content and design presenting together and working together, because that's exactly how things should be. And on that note, another cross-functional effort is Suri, Vic, and Matt. Their presentation they just gave very cool to see the conversion optimization in that. The title being best practices, you know, that's definitely a conversion optimized title. Highlighting bullets on the cover to pull people in, and the engaging content, and by that I mean the design, but also the subheads that are really skimmable and interesting, and the free trial and social footer CTA. So it's really neat to see our content marketing evolving like it is so quickly. So congrats on that work.
+1 to that. All right, well, that takes us to the end of our document, and I didn't make a town hall section, but I will absolutely answer questions. So thank you, everyone. I'm going to stop the recording.